Man, man, oh man, I think about that every time I say that when I hear that intro is focus all of your energy on one thing. I'll tell you, that is one of the hardest things to do,
Yeah.
even though I focus on it so much. Like, in order to be intentional, gotta lock in right now and stay focused on what I'm doing. At the same time, I find it to be a difficult task to just lock in on one thing and truly time block it out and get after it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today to fulfill my promise, and that is to only speak when my words bring value. I have this feeling in my heart, in my chest, that there is value to bring, so here I am. I'm sitting with a friend of mine, man, somebody that I met through the wrestling room and the wrestling community. However, the short time that I spent with him, just eye to eye connecting, he quickly got to my soul on what I was experiencing at the time and was able to, with his demeanor, with his words, just speak to everything that I live by in the foundation. So at that moment, I was like, all right, that dude right there, if we were walking arm in arm in the trenches, that's it. I would look over and be like, all right, let's get after it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Joe Hernandez to the Master Me podcast. Joe, tell him what up.
What is up, guys? It's nice to be here. Honestly, Stefan, you've been nothing but great.
Yeah.
Even just in the little time that I've met you, I've been not only inspired, but just I have found true brotherhood in that, and so I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to talk to you, and I mean, but really, yeah, you talked on chopping wood, just staying focused on that one thing, and it is difficult, But I just gotta thank you because like we do honestly get in the trenches together. The wrestling room is it's not an easy place, especially at Sunnyside. The room that's been developed there for over decades, and so yeah, I mean, I do think that wrestling does bring a lot of people together, and I'm lucky to have had you. And how's that been? That struggle of chopping wood, actually just time blocking something out and getting after it.
It's tough, man, and to be honest, in this time, like, I see from an helicopter view of what I want
Hmm.
or what I feel that I should be chasing, and then I just set the dates, and it's so hard. Even if it's a morning practice or an afternoon practice, I'll know that there's 10 other things on my plate, but I also made a commitment. And the commitment, it I found a way to get this emotional attachment to the commitment.
Hmm.
And I've tied it to old programming, my childhood, a relationship with my father, righting old wrongs, and what I want out of wrestling and my career there. I've now know that I got this little boy who's I made a promise to, and now I have to follow through on the commitment. So it's more of the concept of me saying that I was going to do it and then doing it and following through. Not for other people, not for any kind of glory, but other than the commitment that I made to myself that I need to show up and be there for me.
Yeah. No, and that's like a muscle that we work on. That I don't know. I coach kids. I
Right.
coach kids at
Yep.
Sunnyside, and so what I call it is like the do good muscle.
Right.
Like if you go work out, you get stronger. If I go do curls, my biceps get
Right.
stronger. And then the reality is that if you go and do the right thing, if you show up and you go do the right thing, right, you show up on time, you show up prepared, and you show up ready to go, um, and you actually devote your mind to that practice, or you devote your mind to what's going on, it does set into motion like a strengthening of that. I don't know what I would call it, where in the mind that you're strengthening, but it does strengthen your nervous system,
Right.
where you're able to fight against those I don't know if I'd call them primal thoughts, but those subconscious thoughts
Right.
that tell you, oh, I want to sleep in, or oh, I don't need to do this, and you do it, and you just get up and chop the wood. Seneca, he talked about you know hard times strengthen the mind,
Right.
and just as labor strengthens the body,
Right.
and so when we get up and do these hard things, because getting up and doing a wrestling practice is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's gruesome. And so if you get up and willingly do that, especially when you're not out of high school, when you're just competing just for the love, it it creates something in you. It allows your soul to be there and be present rather than all the subconscious thoughts. It helps you get stronger in that do good muscle.
100%. I feel like there's no other feeling when you're wrestling another man eye to eye,
No.
and there's no other feeling that like you're in it in the moment, but it feels so good after. Almost like weirdly enough that you connected and you bonded because you were intentional with what you were doing.
I
And
agree.
when you leave, it's like whatever dopamine or whatever comes out after that, like you feel better.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I enjoy of the I know that's coming at the end of it and I got to try to get there. And the only way I'm going to get there is if I test myself, if I jump into faith over fear, when I'm courageous, when I'm brave with shots or things that didn't work for me in the past.
Right.
And I think that's the same thing that we're talking about is how many subconscious old programming beliefs tried to stop me from even being on this podcast today
Right.
with hurdles and different things. So I had these feelings come up, but I know because I've had enough experience of this is that all right, this is exciting versus I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And I have to walk into it knowing that I'm going to come out better on the other side. That feeling that I want is when we shake hands and we're done with this and we've connected. And I know what it feels like in the wrestling room. I know what it feels like when we're talking here. I know what it feels like when I complete something that I didn't like the way I was feeling during it
Yeah.
and I get it done. It's like, all right, man, I know there's something better out there and there is something pulling me back that wants to hold me down and keep me afraid, but I have to keep proving it wrong. And the only way to prove it wrong is to go do the courageous act so that way whatever fear comes up next time, my new memory is going to be like, all right, last time this came up, I did the courageous act and everything was okay.
Yeah.
So I got to go do it. And I feel like that when I'm shooting and man, one memorable moment you told me in the room was like, dude, I don't feel like you're going to shoot on me. Like I'm not worried.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if he's getting this experience, like that's coming out from me, he can feel my body. He knows where I'm going. Like if he doesn't got the feeling that I'm going to shoot, then maybe don't really want to shoot.
Yeah.
And you would know if I want to shoot because I'd be
I'd
taking those
feel it.
fakes and I'd be coming and you're like, which one's going to be the real one? And I learned from there, like I got to get down and dirty more. The more I get down in those shots and I can prove positive evidence by getting
Yeah.
out, getting to the position, then that's how I'm going to be more dominant when we're in stand up like that. I'm not going to be afraid to shoot and get down because I know I'm going to get up from that moment.
Exactly. And there's a lot that wrestling translates over, like getting up from that moment. But yeah, you've got to find fun in that fire,
Right.
especially,
Right.
like you talked about that. Sometimes it's scary,
Right.
taking a shot in wrestling, there's risk. There's
Right.
a lot of risk. And there's a lot of risk, like, in everything we do, like you said, doing this podcast, everything that we're doing, there's just risk.
You're
But
exposing me right now.
yeah, no, but really, it's risky.
Right.
Everything we do is
100%.
risky. And, but the reality is that getting in that fire, that's what you've been doing lately, is just getting into shots and getting into that fire um, and finding success there. Because even for some of the younger kids, it's like if they've never found success in some of the things that we're teaching them, it's hard to truly give it your all, give it 100%, and that's what we need, in those hard moments. It's it's definitely 100% needed. And like you said, like when you wrestle, it is a language. There is something spoken when you wrestle, man. When you look eye to eye and you guys grind it out and you guys go through one of the hardest things that you can and you make it out on the other side. Not only is there actual chemical benefits in your brain because of the workout,
Right.
because of
Right.
of how hard and rigorous it is on your body, but also you do have that brotherhood where you go in and you did it with somebody,
Right.
and for the most part, most rooms, especially in the wrestling community, everybody's just trying to get better. Everybody's just trying to help each other, and so it is a beautiful thing to go in there and feel that fire together. Like you said, I gotta say I'm grateful for the community
Right.
because, there's sometimes that every single person has their problem, and every dog is different.
Right.
And so sometimes you have unhealthy tendencies, or you might have something that's negative or what have you. And when you go into if you, like, scientists have put a unhealthy dog, or like a unhealthy behavioral dog,
Right.
and they'll put them in a healthy pack of
Right.
wolves, and that'll fix the problem.
Right.
Like, and so I've just got to say that sometimes that community has helped a lot of people, in the sense of, sometimes I might be looking at something the wrong way, or
Right.
I might be doing something wrong. I might just unknowingly, and the community kind of helps you out, and not in a sense of like always they'll tell you what's going on, but sometimes you'll see somebody do it right,
Right.
and then you'll be able to copy and mimic. And there's all kinds of people all trying to figure out how to do something like the best way, and we all kind of collectively gain off of that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, dude, that's wrestling's such a deep I think I don't know if it's just me who peels apart everything to find the nugget in it, but I
Right.
think that's exactly what you're talking about though is being in the room and then learning that maybe the perspective you were looking at it was wrong, or and it's okay to be wrong. Like I've learned that through this last year is like my way's not the best way and I'm okay with that. But I'm open-minded
Right.
to learning a new way, because if you see what I can't see, then let me work on that. Like
Yeah.
let me see that, let me feel that, so that way I can go deal with it and figure out how I want to make a change. And having the people push, whether it's like you're speaking about it directly and it's all in writing, or you're just in the room with everybody fighting for the same cause, and that's to grow and get better.
Yeah.
Like I look at God as an acronym, God, and you're
Right.
either growing or dying. And it's not a room full of people just trying to die.
No.
Like it's a room full of people
There's
trying to
real life
grow.
there. Yeah.
It's real life, and people are trying to get better. And if you're around somebody who's trying to be their best version, then what's going to happen to you? Like you're going to be around another person who's trying to be their best version. They're not going to pull you down. They're going to bring you up, because high
Yeah.
tide rises many ships. So if you're in that water, like here's what's happening. Like everybody's elevating together.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of like energy that's important. And I think you got to find that and go gravitate to that. If you have this need to grow, like I can only speak for myself, but I have this feeling, like this urge to constantly put myself in that spot that we were talking about before, of like it's uncomfortable sometimes, but it's where I need to find. It's like it's my pursuit, it's my journey to go
Yeah.
find that and grow and get better. But yeah, dude, it's heavy stuff, man. You talked about something too of like the subconscious work. And the way I've learned this is like we have our conscious mind, our subconscious mind. And then if you can align those two, and a lot of times where I'm in resistance or resentment, like we talked about that earlier, is because what I want versus what I believe are different. So I got this problem. There's a indifference there. And when I align them, I get to this place to where I feel like what I want, what I say, and what I'm doing, the actions behind it, and what I believe of myself are lined up. That's when I feel connected to God. Like that's when I feel connected to like, damn, I'm doing the right shit. Like
Yeah,
it's
seriously.
working. And then like chasing that feeling of like, how can I make wrestling more fun? And how can I make it more of a flow state and be connected to God, versus every time I'm like thinking too hard and I'm putting stuff into moves, it's not working out. And then I feel like I'm setting an expectation and the expectation doesn't get met, and then I got this little way to chip away at myself. Versus like not setting the expectations but just working on the end goal and just flowing, and then it's like boom, oh that worked out, boom that worked out, and now I feel like I'm wrestling and having fun. And I'm trying to get there in life to where we slap hands and I can just flow with it and have fun.
Yeah, and you talk like, yeah, you were talking about it exactly. We've got to wrestle free of expectations. So sometimes we got to live life free of expectations.
Right.
We definitely set goals, and we set a plan for those goals, and we work for that plan. We can, that's definitely a good route to go. But beyond that, we can't set too many harsh expectations on ourselves and just get down on ourselves. It's definitely got to be the next point kind of thing.
Right.
It's just a today kind of thing.
Right.
Because it's fun. It's fun to do what we're doing. It's fun to wrestle. It's fun to, and even the, what you do, you in your actual job,
Uh-huh.
it's just, it's a fun, it's a fun life to live, and we definitely don't have to um, look at even the gruesome times like
Right.
that. Like sometimes if we see the end goal and we can see the good on the other side, sometimes it's better to just have no expectations. And how is that been wrestling with expectations or without, just kind of slapping hands and going out there and just
Yeah, dude, I hate wrestling with expectations, and sometimes I feel like subconsciously I put expectations on it so that way I can fall short of them and have a fucking reason to be mad at myself, or have
right.
some kind of like, oh, because this didn't work out. Then I give myself an excuse. And that's like when I find a problem with myself is when I'm setting expectations to be unmet, and that's old programming.
It is.
And when I do that, like, of course, it's probably not going to work. It is exciting when I go out for a move and I connect with it and I get it. Like, that's different. But
Hmm.
when I bank on the move and it doesn't work, then it's like, I've learned like having two or three moves is better than focus on one, right? So
Yeah.
I'm playing this game where, all right, boom, boom, and boom. Like, I got this triangle, and boom, boom, and boom. This doesn't work. Go back here, go back there. I can flow back and forth between that stuff. But if I'm focused on one, then I really have none, because if that fails, then I'm fucking with my subconscious of like, damn, I got nothing, or it's not gonna work, and then like I'm beating myself up in there, and that's when the fear starts to come up, or I start to panic, and like all of a sudden I'm out of breath, and we're barely a minute in.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
That
you don't
happens.
think about it, but like there's a lot going on,
There's a lot
and
going
it's
on in a little
because
bit of
of
time.
the conditioning that I have, and it's not the physical conditioning,
No,
it's
but the
the
mental.
subconscious, the mental conditioning that I need to work on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like that's where I'm like learning to grow a lot more, is in the fight or flight, can I stick to the positive programming that I got now? And
Right.
like that's the test I want to be on. I want to be on the high of that, of like, let's stay positive the whole way. Let's stick to the like I feel like I'm singing them or rapping them in my head, but I got these affirmations of like that I'll roll through when I start to feel that like anxiety or fear come up in there. And I like
Yeah.
when I do that, it just kind of puts my mind on something, and then I remember everything's okay, and then I get back to flowing again. And like it's just weird. Like that's one of the tricks that are working for me when the feelings come back up, because I can't change the feel. Like I can't change the past. Really, the only way I can rewrite is by making new decisions in the present. And as I make a new decision when that feeling comes up, that's me rewriting what it means to me now.
Yeah. No, and seriously, it's huge. The mental conditioning. Um, in the wrestling room, we don't only train the body, we also train the mind.
Right.
And the reality is, it's hard. Sometimes what we think we become.
Right.
Marcus Aurelius said
Right.
that, and what we think we become. And so, in a lot of cases, what we think in those moments is what we become in that moment.
Right.
And so, in a lot of cases, we really got to change how we think about certain things. Like, um, sometimes it's about believing you will get that shot.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be, against some of the best wrestlers, you
Right.
are gonna have to put multiple moves together. You're gonna
Right.
have to take 2, 3, 4 shots.
Right.
Um, but on that 4 shot, sometimes it's about the decision to say
Right.
I am getting it, and that's really about like how you're thinking and how you train your brain to think, and yeah, and it's a daily thing. Today we've got to train our brain to be its best,
Right.
and to pull the best out of it. But yeah, when I take a shot, honestly, I think I'm gonna get it.
Right.
I don't care if I really met, like if I don't.
Right.
I take if as long as it's not a fake shot or
Right.
an actual segue to something else. If I take a shot, I really genuinely think I can get it on anybody in the world, and that's just the way that we've trained our kids. It's the way I was trained. It provides results too, because when they're younger, and sometimes you don't get it, and when you're training kids through these processes, it gets complicated. It gets hard. It gets hard when you take a shot and you don't get it
Right.
40 times.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you really get better at it and really improve, I can get a good setup and just take one shot and really take somebody down or take it at the right time.
Right.
Um, and you know, a lot of it is tactical in wrestling, but the reality of the mindset is that every shot I take, I think I'm gonna get. I'm here to get it, and you know, we're here to, um, you know, like wrestling is a competition, and we're here to win. Um, and in my life, I'm here to win. You know
Right.
that like there
100%.
is that fight within myself.
100%.
You know, so there's that the back of my mind, my subconscious sometimes tell me like you can't do this or this is too hard or the way that your life was or the way that my upbringing was like it's too hard for you or it's not meant in your cards. But it's like, you know what? I can do that. You know what I mean? I can take that shot and get it, no matter who he is, no matter what's going on, no matter what the situation. And I think that. That was developed. You know, I have great mentors, Anthony Leone,
Hmm.
Jason Carlton, Manuel Rubio. I have great mentors that have kind of helped me see that before I saw it because
Right.
there was a time that I would take a shot and I really didn't know if I was going to get it,
Right.
right? But then with my mentors who are, you know, who are looking over and they're able to say, no, you can. And, you know, with somebody pushing, I do think that mentorship is huge in someone's life. I think that, you know, no matter where they're at in their process, they've always helped me and they're some of the greatest to ever do it. So, you know, if I want to do something in my life, I'm just gonna find whoever's the best at it and I'm gonna follow suit on that. And I just think that, you know, you talked about God. If you know, if all of this is real and you know God is really there and He is really backing me, what really can stop me? You know what I
Right.
mean? He's placed me in some of the best conditions, and you know, yeah, some of this stuff is hard, but I think that that's how the movie was written. You
Right.
know, like I don't think it was supposed to be easy,
Right.
and I think that like you know why we're even here is to set that mindset.
Right.
It's setting the mind. You know, I think the mind is something that is to be set and it is to be programmed, and we do have natural subconscious thoughts and we have subconscious thoughts that were programmed into us, but we have an active job to change it like we're starting to see and wake up to because you know for a lot of us growing up until you're older you don't even notice how important the words that you speak are and how important the thoughts that you have are and you know moving forward into your life you see how life changing your thoughts and words actually are, you know, and how those are some of the only things you actually have, you know, and have true control over. Um, and so, how has that been, you know, changing what you think in every moment?
I think,
Like, cause not what you say, but
yeah.
literally what you think about things.
Right.
How has
Right.
that been, like, you know,
That thing,
changing that, and how has that changed your life?
you just said it. Like it's, you
Yeah,
hit me in the heart and you said it in a way of that it's changed my life. Like
yeah,
I was looking at life one way based on, and I think here, to be honest, my parents did the best that they could based off
right,
the cards that they were dealt, the way that they saw life, the way that whatever their parents did, right or wrong, they tried to do something different. They set me up the best that they could. Did I find all the flaws in it? Most likely. I feel like
probably
my
right.
mind
We all
has
do.
been built that way, and I've wanted to do something different from that. And I believe that I'm on that path right now. But at the same time, I'm taking all the stuff that they did fantastic at,
Yeah,
and there's based off this, there's the the match they were in life. Like I think that they wrestled it out the best that they could. And I'm speaking from my dad who's not here anymore, and my mom who's still getting after it and growing on her mindset. It was the way that I first had to see that I was looking at life one way. And I
hmm,
think once I realized that there was another way to look at it,
yeah,
that's when I would like it was like pulling a fish out of a tank or out of the ocean and realizing it was in water. Like I was just
yeah,
doing life like painting a picture, but didn't realize that there was a whole nother way to play the game. It was like, oh, hold on, you telling me I could live on land and water at the same time, and I can use the best to live the best life, and that was it for me. And it started like, let me see, grab your let's do your left hand. Look up at the sky here. Point your hand a little higher to see it. All right, we're gonna go counterclockwise. So let's go counterclockwise. Bring your elbow down. Bring your elbow down. Elbow down. And then now look down at your finger and tell me which way is it going. Oh, don't stop it. Keep going.
Out. It's going
It's
clockwise.
going clockwise. I was looking at it up here. And then when I looked at it from down here, I realized it never changed what was happening.
No,
What
it's just a
changed was the
different
way I was
perspective.
looking at it. It was perspective. That like concept, diving into that for like 7, 8 years of my life, I think set my kids up in a different way, and they're gonna have their own stuff to change. And because I think that what I just said about my parents right now, I think that's gonna be the same story for them. But as long as I continue to give them the tools that they need, that they'll be able to go make the best of their wrestling matches in life, and and then pass the torch, keep passing it until wherever we're supposed to go. And I just think it's a matter of like, I don't think I would have unlocked my full potential. I don't even know if I've hit it yet, but I know that
Mm-mm.
I'm on a path right now to where I'd have been stuck underwater still if I didn't figure out there was another way. And it's all come from rewriting the way that I thought about things based off the way that I seen it. When I touched the stove, it burnt my hand. Like now, when I touch the stove or where I go into the act, I can change the outcome of it based off my mindset, based off the meaning of it. That I can have a positive experience out of everything in life
Yeah.
every time it comes up.
It's so important perspective. I mean, I'm a guy that rides that silver lining for sure. Every silver lining I can grab at, I'll definitely ride it. Um, Perspective is huge, and I think it really grinds down to gratitude, um, because sometimes life gets complicated.
Right.
It really does. Life gets complicated, and it's so easy to look at faults, and it's natural to find patterns and to find negatives because it's how we learn to survive. There is a true benefit in that, but we've got to have a perspective and seeing that silver lining because we've got breath in our lungs. I
Right.
can I can walk. I can
Right.
I can move my hands as of today. And that was given to me. It's a power that's given to me, and I'm able to speak to you. And I have true gratitude in that, and everything on top of that is just cherry on top. And so I think if we look at life in a perspective of gratitude, of saying, you know what, like I've got today, and I've
Mm.
got I've got breath in my lungs, we start to see everything else as just a gift.
Right.
If I'm okay with just what I have, and perspective wise, and I'm grateful for it. Not only if I'm okay with it, but if I'm grateful for what I have, you start to use everything different. You start to see life a little bit different. I'm grateful for today.
That is when I talked about the like repeat of affirmations I'll pull out when I need them is I'm grateful for who I am now and who I am becoming. Like it's something that'll play over in that series of affirmations. That one comes up and it's reminding me that like I have breath right now. I'm
Yeah.
I'm here alive. And somebody from the Sunnyside Wrestling Room back when I was in there, this was what 2004 to 6 or something like that, and he had reached out to me one time on TikTok, and I thought he was like, because it's the South Side. Like I was like, is this kid on drugs nowadays? Because we're this far
Far out.
apart, and
Yeah.
there is a lot of people that's life is on a bad path, and I didn't really know too much about him right now. And he was like, when did you find out you were anointed by God, or when did you feel it? And I was like, he's getting kind of deep right now. Like I don't know.
Hmm.
And it's 11:30 at night. I'm looking at my phone, and so like I'm talking about him, but like dude is healthy. We've talked and like sat eye to eye and stuff, and but like that statement, I was thinking about this earlier, and it was like, you know what, bro? Like it's always been a fight. Like, but you know how lucky I am? I'm the fucking sperm that made it to the ovary, bro. Like
Yeah.
I
I'm the one
scrapped
that
out
made it.
all those motherfuckers. So like it's okay to feel like this, dog. Like
No, for
that's
real.
when the fight has been on, and that's when I felt like I'm the fucking luckiest one out there.
Yeah.
Because I got there. I did the work. Like how many even like the relationship with you talked about the dog and the wolves, like how many like do you think they would rather be a human than a dog? Like probably. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. Like they don't know any different, but I feel like my dog looks at me and like, motherfucker, you better not waste your life, bro. Like if
Yeah.
I was in your shoes, I'd fucking go after it. Like don't fuck this up.
Yeah. No, we were truly gifted by God. I mean, you know, we have the ability to, communicate and speak, and we are very intelligent as humans. And so, but it comes down to, you know, really it comes down to like, is your soul working?
Right.
You know, like, are you having fun? Like,
Right.
this life. It's gruesome. Yeah, it is gruesome, but it's meant to be lived. You know, it's meant to be lived and experienced. And sometimes we can, kind of step away from that perspective of, that we have only got this life,
Right.
and it's beautiful. And sometimes we work so hard to chase like an afterlife, when it's like, are we even grateful for the one that we
Right.
have here,
Right.
and are we doing we working to the best of our abilities in this one, and it comes down to the minutes. What are you doing right now? And it's so, and and like taking shots in wrestling, it's so easy to see things with expectations, and look at a day and hope that we can do certain things, and sometimes some things don't happen, when in reality it's just, we've got to just be happy that we're chopping wood. And and it's just, you know sometimes you get splinters and sometimes things happen, but it does bring a warm house. I like firewood, I like having a warm house. So it's like, sometimes he's doing these hard things. um Maybe we can even stop calling them hard things. Doing these things, doing
Right.
certain things can be maybe harsh on the body and on the nervous system, but in reality, we can, with perspective, we can change the way that we're living.
Right. And it's a good point though, because I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing.
Mm-mm.
And although like I fucking woke up banged up, I went way too hard. We did shark bait last night, and I'm with 20-year-olds, bro, and they're like,
They're men, yeah.
they
They're
want me.
ready to
Like
go.
they want me, and I feel like I have to upkeep my status in that room,
Yeah,
last night. And so it's I felt great in the moment. This morning, I felt it. Like I was sore and was like, damn, I'm getting back to. But I got to remember that this feeling's going to come back, especially when the open comes back around. And like, I'm going to start going back in there. Like, every problem, I got to keep building this new muscle memory to push through it
yeah,
and not look at it as a problem. And like, when you said that, like, stop looking at it as a bad thing. Like, good, it's fucking sore. It means you're
yeah.
working. It means you're getting after it. Like, go live in that place and have fun being there. Like, if you're not feeling sore, it just means you're not doing enough. Like, if you feel well rested, it means you're not doing enough. Like,
No, yeah,
be okay with that concept. And that's one thing that, like, I got to keep in perspective in the moment, is that when certain things start, shit happens, like, stop looking at it as shit. Like, okay, here's where we're at, and here's how we're gonna work through it or pay attention to it. But then at the same time, you got to keep moving.
yeah. You've got to love the lifestyle.
Right.
It is gruesome, and it's hard to wake up sore.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to go to practice sore and
Right.
keep going sore.
Right.
Um, and sometimes that's how life hits you. Sometimes even psychologically we can be sore, or
Right.
mentally just fatigued, and we've got to push through it. And like I said, it's training that do good muscle, that like fighting your nervous system. Even though your nervous system is, and every bone in your body's telling you, oh, I don't want to practice, or I don't want to do this. You've got to push through that, and like we said, you've got to find fun in that, because I love the lifestyle. I love the grind, and if you can, I didn't always, it wasn't, we're all tough, but the grind is something that has to be adapted to, and it's really just a mindset thing. You've got to find a love for it, and in a lot of cases we can train our kids into the point where once you have a big win, or once you have a big match, it's kind of like giving them that treat. So if,
Mm-hmm.
like, if a dog sits and you give him a treat, he's probably going to sit again if you tell
Right.
him to. And so we can do that for ourselves. If
Right.
if I know that I've been working really hard, and I get that, I get that win, I've got to really sit on it and, like, cherish the wins.
Right.
Because there's so many times that we maybe mess up on a shot, but what about that one shot that I did make? Like,
Right.
what about that win that I did have? It's
Right.
like, sometimes we go, and we spend, we train for 4 or 6 hours, and then we spend the other 18 worried about the shots that we messed up.
Right.
When in reality, there is that other half. There is that other half that of the shots that we did make, that the
Right.
good things that did come.
Right.
And I think that in growth, we've always got to be changing and looking at that bad side, and change. Maybe not a bad side, but looking at where we can improve and always be improving. But what we've also got to write on our strengths,
Right.
and what are we doing right?
Right. And like hold on that. Like I don't know, some people look at having a chip on your shoulder as like a bad thing, but then sometimes like if you're setting that up for yourself that you're putting yourself on a higher pedestal, like that you're it takes a lot to build certain wins, right? And you never know when you're on a like a pinnacle and you just did something great. Like to celebrate it comes back to that gratitude and like really
Yeah.
holding and like be grateful. Like all the work you've put in, like you made something happen with it. Like soak that in for a moment. Like a lot of times you hear with like, oh, get back to the grind, it's not enough. But then like which side are you feeding then? Like
Yeah.
if everybody has a white wolf and a black wolf, if you're just giving it no attention, like are you feeding the black wolf or the white wolf that like wants to hold in on that moment and chase the good in it, then you're feeding the good wolf, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's important. It reminds me of what I was talking about with the wolves. The one time I started doing ping pong. Like me and my friend, we went to high school together. Renee Torres, he went to Sunnyside as well.
Yeah.
He we started playing ping pong like kind of competitively or table tennis, and like I signed up for tournaments, and he would go like if he was coaching me like,
Right.
and one thing that we learned was from this like old Asian dude that not to put so much emphasis, like he pulled us aside, like not emphasis on the like when the ball goes off the table and you miss the point. He's like, because now you're teaching yourself that like you're giving it attention and excitement. Your body's gonna go seek attention and excitement from
Yeah.
that. And it was a bad thing though. So if you just brush it off, give it no attention, but then when you do something good, like if you give that the fort, you're gonna come chase the like fuck yeah. Like you're gonna want that. So pour more attention into your wins versus your losses.
Exactly.
Let that like go. And it's like it's weird that you have to learn it through weird life experiences, but they stick. And that's one of them. Of like, all right, you just did something good, man. You gotta pour attention to that, so then your body can go chase that again.
Yeah. It's crazy how there has to be actual presence of mind in the way we think.
Uh
You know,
huh.
not only in you go to this table tennis arena and you think that I'm gonna be working on my on my front hand
Right.
backhand, and in reality, some guys doesn't even bring up anything to do with the ping pong, but
Right.
how you're thinking and how
Right.
you're like what you're paying your attention to.
Right.
And it's just a small mark in a big picture of what are we bringing our attention to? Are we bringing it to our wins and where we can succeed? Um, and I don't even want to mention what would happen other than that.
Yeah.
It's just, are we going to be winning and are we going to be succeeding? And that's
Right.
where we pour all of every little bit of what we
Bro,
have.
the way you said that, the way it rolled off your tongue was like fascinating to me. When you said paying your attention, like if your attention was in dollar form
Right.
and you were about to pay it because it's the only attention you have, like
We've only got so
why the
much
fuck
of
are
it.
you gonna give that money to bad things? You know, like
Exactly.
like pay for good things so you can have good experiences out of it and not always be paying for dumb shit. Like then who are you feeding? Black wolf or white wolf? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's a black wolf concept right there.
And your body doesn't know the difference. Your
Right.
brain is going to do what you tell it to do.
Right.
And yeah, we've got to be feeding, the good dopamine, the good things in life. Um, and that's a slippery slope to be feeding the opposite side,
Right.
to be negative and
Right.
pessimistic.
Right.
But the optimism and the optimism within the realism, just always feeding that good wolf, always feeding that good thought, because that essentially is our future. Our what we think is going to lead to what we say, and what we say is going to lead to our actions, and how we act changes our future. And how do we want to live tomorrow? And what are we paying? Are we paying good thoughts
It's
and good
important
attention?
for you. How is it working with kids, paying attention to yourself, like making sure that you're tracking your thoughts? Because what's worked for me is thinking about what I'm thinking about, and then why I'm thinking about that in the first place. Like going down that
That
process.
rabbit hole, yeah.
So if the kids, you said what the room's about, like,
Hmm.
and you get them such at a young age, like to mold, like it's important for you to be on top of you, like how do you keep your cup full so that way you're pouring the right stuff into the kids at all times?
That is, that's a very good question. Yeah, so when you give, you really, like, there's a saying, you want to make sure that your cup overfloweth,
Uh-huh.
and that's where you give, because if you take from your cup, you empty out, you're actually no help. Um, the true honesty is I try to make sure I take one day a week off.
Uh-huh.
And on that day a week I might still run or I might still train, but at least one day a week of just, just if you give 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, um, you're bound to need one day off of just mental
Right.
rest. And mind you, I still think that moving my body is important on that day. Getting up, running, doing something, just, even if it's stretching, going for a walk or a hike, that it's important, but really just one day of rest from at least like work. But yeah, really, what I'd say, in all honesty, is I think the kids fill my cup. In
Right.
all honesty,
Right.
I mean, if you go through a hard practice and your back hurts and you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, and you're kind of like, you're kind of in that state of question. And then you see a little kid running from the car, trying to get there, strapping his shoes on, running out there all excited, like that kind of gets you fired up. So in all reality, that community definitely livens me up, and I've got to be thankful for that. But um no, and making sure my cup overfloweth, when you are in this community and you coach kids on a daily basis, you learn that they're going to see you on when you have, half a cup full or a full cup. Like the reality is they're going to see you on your best days and your worst of days. So the way that I look at it is, even on my worst of days, I've got to make sure I'm fighting and doing the right thing, because in a sense, it's basically monkey see, monkey do. They're not gonna. I can tell them, hey, in these hard moments, you've gotta push through. But then when I'm in these hard moments, I don't push through. It's really just a sense of when I got into the wrestling room and I started coaching, I became very aware of the fact that what I think, they're probably going to think.
Right.
What I speak, they're going to speak,
Right.
and what I do, they're going to do.
Right.
I watched other coaches, and the way that they spoke and the way that they thought about wrestling, their kids would think about wrestling. If I got transfers in, they would think the way that other people, the way that they were trained, and not only would they wrestle the way that they would like the way that they would wrestle at that program, but
Right.
they would think about wrestling the way that that program would think about wrestling. And I learned that the kids are definitely gonna follow my lead. They're not gonna some days it's not just gonna be about me taking out of my cup and giving to the kids. It's gonna be them watching me manage my cup and see how I do, and see how I should manage my cup. And so when they see that I am overflowing and I'm always giving and I have all this energy, they're definitely, when they have they're gonna do it. And even when I don't have energy, and they see when I have a half cup, I'm still gonna go and I'm gonna give my best. I'm still gonna go and give a little bit. And when they see that even when I don't have a full cup, I'm gonna give them what I have. They see in those moments that, maybe their knee is banged up and maybe they don't have a full cup today, but they're gonna give this tournament their best
Mm-hmm.
because they've seen it. And I think that um, the cup analogy, I definitely think it's important for me and for all coaches to have a regular workout schedule, and have their community, and definitely take a day off. And these are so that we can keep our cup full. But the reality is that in relation to the kids, I think that they watch how we manage our cups and they're gonna follow how we manage it.
100%. I think that's important. I think like it's such a fucking sensitive topic to me. I believe is because of my, let's just say like I don't know how, if I'm gonna say that right, because I said because of mine. So I felt like I was putting it in a victim mindset, but like within my childhood, I think like words and actions like were so powerful, right? But then
Yeah.
I seen like my years at Sunnyside, like we had a different coach, and sometimes they would roll around like words like you turd or scrub, like, and those were common things to like. Sometimes it's just kids being kids or coaches, talking to the kids, but like, how are you feeding the mind? And this is why I look at it different, and I'm paying attention to the words that I'm using,
Right.
so that way I'm feeding on and up, and I don't get used to also calling them turds or something like that or whatever. I'm focused on addressing certain conflicts when they happen on the spot, so that way they can come from a place of love versus being assholes to each other. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to correct it on the spot so that way they're building each other up and not breaking each other down, because you don't get to use your words to knock another person down when you shake hands.
No,
It's silence at
it's
that point.
yeah, it
You
is.
know, now it's a mind game. And so what's really going on here, like that's the stuff that we got to build there. And it's like it's where I'm at now. Like I last night I said something and I don't know where I was at, but I know I was coming from a good place in my heart, but I was like, either today you felt like you kicked ass or you sucked ass. But like it come in, there's some parents back there and shit like that. Like it came out of my mouth, but at the same time, like I was coming from a place of like you always have this next moment when you walk out of this room to make a new decision and start building from there. And
Yeah.
like I finished off what I was talking about there, but like then I thought about it. I was like, all right, I might have used the word ass and sucked it like weird,
Yeah.
but at the same time, because they're kids, but at the same time, I'm coming from a good place, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna stand on that rock that like I meant it from my heart, and just like I never know if I'm perfect or not. You know what I mean? Like I just know that I'm trying to become better, and I was trying to be authentic. Like,
No, and I mean, coming from an authentic place is always where we've got to
mm-hmm.
come. We've got to be in an authentic place when we're training people. But yeah, I mean, at least you have a presence of mind in a sense of,
Yeah,
we're changing the way that we speak
right,
because through the generations we've improved, and not only the way that we've trained, but the way that we speak to each other, and you know growing up we were probably spoken to a little different than
yeah,
we
yeah,
speak to our kids,
mm-hmm.
and honestly it's just that we've found success, and we found that it's healthier to speak to the kids differently. um, yeah, I mean, really, I've refrained from calling the kids scrubs anymore, because that was a way that
It's a
it
different
was that's
era.
how yeah
Yeah,
that's how the era referred to the bad wrestlers, and if you did something good you were
right,
a stud. And I realized that I've got to talk to all the kids as if they're studs,
right,
because that's what we're growing and expecting out
right,
of them. And truly there's a mutual respect there too. When I walk up to a kid and I shake his hand, and I talk to him by name, um, they remember my name, and
right,
there is a mutual respect, so that when when the going gets tough and I tell them, hey, I need you to do this, there is a mutual respect, and they know that I'm in it for their gain, in a sense of them to become
better,
great,
right. You care,
and yeah, rather than I see them as a problem.
right.
And I think that the relationship between wrestler and coach, it's improved, and it's going to even get better, but I think that the words that we speak are so crucial in the way that they even think about themselves.
I agree with that.
I think that sometimes it's okay. I don't we victim mindset is not good, but we are victims to some of the words that we were grown up
Right.
with. And we are actively, even today, changing the way that we're speaking, and changing the way that not only we're speaking about them, but speaking about ourselves, because sometimes we have those thoughts about ourselves, and it's really just a constant workout. It's a
Yeah.
constant work to be improving, and in a sense of how we speak to them, and how we speak to each other, even even colleagues and mutual, people that have mutual respect. We've got to be speaking with the utmost respect, because what we expect from them is the utmost.
It's crazy because the position of the calling
Mm.
of being a figure in a child's life,
Yeah,
like in some cases, like you could be looked at as their father figure, or they're
yeah,
like the man in their life. You know what I
it
mean? Some
happens.
because they're in their circumstances of whatever their dynamic looks like at home. But the stuff that you say, like if they look up to you and they see that you like pay attention to them and you know their name, and like I think it starts there, right? Because
Yeah,
their brain's still developing
it
depending
is.
on what age they're at, and if you're giving them attention, they're going to realize that they matter. And if they realize that they matter, then they're going to feel significant, and they're going to pour energy into the stuff that they're doing. The moment they feel like what they're doing is not paying off or they don't matter, then why do it anyways? Then that's where we see the shift change in there. And it's almost like be the person that you needed at that age. If you have a story, everybody does, then go and show up and be that person that you needed. and pretend that little boy or that little girl is you.
Yeah.
They're a human, and in a way, if we're all connected, they are a part of you.
Yeah.
So pour into them the way you would speak to yourself. And now we know that the way we talk to our subconscious and the way we pour into that, like it is a true nature of like, man, I better watch my words because
Yeah.
my subconscious might blow out some stuff that it's not going to serve me at the wrong time. You know what I mean? So I have to make sure that my co-pilot, which is the way I look at the conscious and subconscious conversation of like, all right, my pilot is my reason and logic that I'm working on up here. My subconscious is my co-pilot, and I have to make sure that my co-pilot is so trained that if I go tunnel vision red and I get slapped in the face and my co-pilot takes over because I'm not thinking straight anymore, that my co-pilot knows what to do and is going to land this fucking plane for us.
Right. And that's so important. Yeah. And feeding that and training it. And it's almost inevitable for that co-pilot to take over
Right.
too. Life is going to bring circumstances for you to really be tested.
Right.
And are we prepared for that storm?
Right.
The storm is going to come.
Right.
Life is going to bring those obstacles.
Right.
And are we ready and prepared to do that? And the more that we move forward, we realize how much our words and thoughts actually affect those obstacles, and not just brute force,
Right.
and not just I'm going to attack it on that day. And we also realize how much the people around us matter. Like you said, how important it is as somebody who basically becomes an advisor or
Right.
a mentor to these kids, and also walking into having mentors of my own. And it's just, you realize not only does it take a village, but it takes you. It
Right.
takes you within the village to change.
And it all starts with you. It
Yeah.
all starts with me. Like, it's just my circle, whatever I've been put in front of. And I think it comes back to gratitude and taking care of that. Because if I'm asking for more and I'm not taking care of what I have, like, how the hell am I going to be even able to take on more when it comes? It's like, I got to
Yeah,
really
exactly.
make
Like how,
sure.
a lot of investors talk about like, people want 50 million for an investment, but it's like, how are you handling your $5?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like how, people talk about credit, but it's just, how are we able to, give you hundreds of millions of dollars if you can't even handle $100, And so it's got to be coming down to being grateful for the money we have, for the breath we have, for the energy, the day we have, the opportunity. And, opportunity comes, and think about how many times that we had an opportunity today and we didn't seize the moment because of, all these reasons. And it's like, we've got to be grateful for opportunity, and how opportunity changes our life.
I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but there's just so many ideas within this concept. But like with credit, for example, or something like that, like where another way to look at it is like those are commitments that you made.
Yeah.
And if your credit's down, it's because your commitments are down. So you're breaking those commitments. So how does that person's self-esteem look like? Are they high about themselves or low about themselves? And a low credit score can be equivalent to a low self-esteem of like, man, if they're not able to manage it this way, how are they going to manage it that way?
Right.
So it's like, shit, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So the $5 is so important because if you can manage the $5, then let's go a step up from that. And then how you manage that, let's go a step up from that. And you're building it over time versus like, what's the best prediction of the future is the past. So if you have a past of this pattern, if you're not training and hitting the right shots and being in the right position at the right time and learning how to go from one spot to the next, all of a sudden on match day, you're going to come up with this magic trick and get shit done. Like, no, like you're going to work based off your habits and you're only going to rise to the level that you're ready. And if you're not handling $5 good, like how are you going to handle 50 million?
Right.
It's tough stuff, but I think it all comes back to what we're talking about and like, what does that money mean to you?
Yeah. Like, are you grateful
right.
for that $5?
Right.
Because sometimes it's like I don't have $100, so I only have five, so it's okay. I can just piss it away. But
Right.
the reality is that's $5, and if you have
Fuck.
another five, that's you know what I mean, and all that stuff adds up. And are you grateful for what you have? You know,
Dude, I pick up pennies when I say it doesn't matter what it is, because when it's money, I have this affirmation that I say money comes to me easily and abundantly.
it does.
So what if I pass by the money and I don't pick it up? Like, am I grateful for
No.
what I'm telling? Then I have a misalignment again on what I
Right.
want, what I believe. So I pick up the penny because it doesn't matter, big or small, I take care of the deed.
Right.
And that's what you were talking about earlier too. Like, why are we putting emphasis on things being hard all the time? Because if it's I get like I can do things easy and hard. Like how to change the framework of it to just getting the job done.
Yeah.
And whatever comes, I have the tools to take care of it.
Like some people, they'll, you know, a lot of people play games or play a video game, and it'll be like, it's hard. It's hard to do these things. There's all these challenges. Some people will try to grow a business, and
Right.
it's like, we know that there's going to be challenges. Some people, you know, start a wrestling team.
Right.
Like, there's just anything that you do is going to be hard,
Right.
you know? So it's like, where's the fun in it? Like,
Right.
you've got to kind of see life as, you know, kind of as a game. Like,
Right.
it's like, it's got to be fun.
Right. And I've came up and overcame before. And so whatever new challenge or difficulty is coming, I've done it before, so I can do it again. Going back, like the best prediction of the future being the past can be a positive thing too, right? Like
Yeah.
if I've overcome then, why wouldn't I overcome now? I only have evidence telling me that I get through it. I'm still fucking here. I'm breathing today.
Yeah.
Everything I've been through, I've already made it through it. I've
You've
passed
survived. You've made it
it.
through
I'm
everything.
thriving right now because I've pushed through that shit. And some of it felt like it was the end of the world. Losing my dad felt like it was the end of the world. Like those things, but I'm fucking here and stronger. Like I
And
get a
stronger.
whole nother piece of the puzzle that I didn't have before, which reminds me that like life fucking happens for me. And I get to use it as a positive thing. Like it's a gift that something happens. Cause now I got new perspective. I was only looking at it this way. And my dad jumped in and solved all my problems. He's not here. Now I gotta look at it from here and do it with my own hands.
Yeah.
But I still have them in my head. You know, I still have them in my heart. And I can now tie that up. Like I can close the gap of what he brought to me by me pouring it down. And I think that that's important. It's just making sure that I die full, knowing that I poured everything out that I have. Like my cup is full, but I'm fucking overflowing it the whole time on everyone that I have around me.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's really how we live. That's really how we live a good life. I mean, if you give your, you know, your hour, the best hour, let's just say one day. If you give me your best day, you're telling me you can't sleep at night. You know, you're gonna
Right.
go to bed knowing like, hey, I gave it my all. Like I
Right.
gave it my
Right.
best. Excuse me. But the reality is, you know, with that perspective, life can be fun.
Right.
You know, we do spend a lot of time trying to build systems for, you know, making money,
Right.
build systems to create great wrestlers. But in building a system, you know, of your life, of creating a happy and healthy life, I think that feeding that healthy wolf has to be like the main priority that we're fighting, you know, and feeding those good thoughts,
Right.
because that's inevitably what's going to affect our entire life, is how we think.
Fuck, dude. I felt like that's a cap right there.
Yeah.
Like on not a cap like a lie, but like that's the top of where we're at with this conversation, and feeding that white wolf, the healthy wolf, and ultimately just paying attention to those thoughts,
Yeah.
making sure that they're serving you, and holding on to the ones that are serving you, like that win, and then getting rid of the stuff that's not serving you
Yeah.
and those negative things that pop up. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey here, man. This has been Joe. Joe.
Joe works. Joey works too. Joe.
Dude, before we roll out, man, how is it that you got into coaching? Like what kind of sparked you? Was it a conversation on the side? Did you just feel inclined to give back? Like where were you at?
That's so funny. So when I got out of high school, I wanted to go to the military,
Mhm.
and I went through MEPS and I did everything that was needed. But I got my teeth kicked out
Mm-hmm.
in wrestling, so they
Yeah.
said, look, you fix your tooth, we'll take you. So I go back. That was all in Phoenix. I come back to town. I get all my dental stuff scheduled, and I got diagnosed. I ended up going to the hospital in 2021, and I got diagnosed with a liver disease.
Okay.
It's or an autoimmune disease,
Uh-huh.
and so I wasn't going to go to the military, and I was, when I was in the hospital, I was kind of faced with death. Like, I mean, I hate to, bring it out,
Yeah.
straightforward, but that I was brought with the fact that I was going to die at some point.
Right.
That my hands move right now, but I'm not going to be able to use them, at some point. And I kind of was chasing this. I was like, damn, I want to go to heaven.
Right.
So this is the reality of the matter. I
Right.
wanted to go to heaven. So, I talked to God, and from what I heard of him was, hey, um, there's a wrestling team that's working hard. That's what, if you died in a year, that's kind of where I was thinking. Like, if I died in a year, what would I do best? What would be best for me to serve? And I was going to serve the wrestling team. So, excuse me. So for, about a year, I gave my life to wrestling, um, and I was kind of still in a bad spot. I was like, I was helping the kids out. I was living like you know, a poor man's lifestyle, how
Mm-hmm.
I thought was, I was supposed to live, just, and um, I kind of went to God and was like, what's up? Like, my life's still kind of tough,
Right.
And he kind of answered me and was like, look, are you whining or do you really want like an answer? Like, are you like, what do what do you want? And he was like, dude, if your room's dirty, it's because you made it dirty.
Right.
Like, clean it up. If your life's dirty, like, you made it dirty. So
Right.
like, I was faced with this, like, you know, I gave everything I thought I was supposed to be doing to God, and I was still kind of like in this bad spot. And he was more just like, look, like, you're where you put yourself. And he was like, I've given you a conscience. If you followed everything that I told you, don't you think that your life would be absolutely amazing right now? And so I was faced with, a couple realities, but I got into coaching because, I got sick and I didn't think I was going to make it. And so I thought it was the best thing to do. And it turned out to be the thing that made me, the man I am today. Like, with the wrestling community, and every, fault I had is fixed, and every good thing I have is, like, brought to light. And yeah, I was supposed to go to the military, and I got sick, and I ended up going to the wrestling room, and I thought that was the best thing to do, and it ended up being. And not only within the community, but I'm starting a business, and I'm growing a business within Tucson. And so with that, they've just been nothing but a help, and like, not in a help in a sense of monetarily,
Mm-hmm.
but in a sense of, like, being in that room only creates, people
Positive
that are,
energy. Yeah.
people that are just so good in their craft. So, like, if you were to go into a room that, people are playing chess and
Right.
they're the best in the world at it, and every day they're devoted their life to it, it kind of you feed off on that
Right.
energy. And so no matter what I do, no matter what avenue you could take my legs and I could never wrestle again. You can take my voice and I could never coach again. But whatever I'm doing, I have that I don't know if I'd want it skill, but it's a skill to overcome,
Right.
and that is bred in the wrestling room.
I mean, shit, dude, that is deep. Thank you for sharing that. That is
Oh yeah, no.
I think that's important because I mean you've taken going back to that acceptance, right? Like the faster you accepted where you were at,
Yeah, it
then you can
was.
start building something from there.
Yeah, if my room's dirty, I can clean it. I mean, who got my room dirty?
Right.
I did. And so in a lot of cases, that's a metaphor for life, in a sense of, like, if your life's not where you want it to be, yeah, there are circumstances where, you have upbringing. Everybody was dealt different cards. But at the end of the day, like, you're given breath, you're given hands. Like, if you really work hard in a public school system, you can get a scholarship, and you can, go somewhere and get educated for free. And it's just that, you know, that victim mindset of walking around as if somebody's supposed to save you,
Right.
when in reality it's you that should be saving yourself from yourself, from, like, my own self. And from, so, like, it's a constant fight. And it starts with changing your thoughts and changing your habits and changing the way you eat, changing the way you think. But it all comes down to, it all comes down to we are given more than enough to accomplish our goals. And the more that I go and chase after things, the more that I realize that I have everything I need to do it.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it's just the fact that maybe I don't go after it. But every time that I've ever wanted to climb a tree, there's always been a ladder. Or so, you get what I'm saying?
Right. The
And if
tools are
there's
there.
if there's not, guess what? I've got $100 in my pocket. I can go buy one at the store. You know what I mean? Like no matter what I want to get accomplished, I can do it. It's just a sense of whether I'm ready, willing, and able.
I think then there's fucking levels to it, dude. Like I went off on a tangent to like I thought it was therapy for a second where I started talking about my dad randomly.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I think you nailed it right now when you said that no one's gonna save you anymore. Because I talked about he would handle a lot of shit for me, and
yeah,
like it put me in this position now to where I can do it for myself, and I had to see it that way, so that way I know that I have the tools that were passed down to handle things out here, and I've been blessed with this opportunity for both of us basically in our lineage and our bloodline to make
yeah,
better decisions because I think that I'm passing like I just had a newborn and like there's got to be stuff I passed on to that new kid, that are going to handle things a certain way and do it better. And like funny story, I was walking into the QT and I was going to park and this dude made eye contact with me and he kept his eyes locked on me and I parked and he was still looking back. And granted, I felt like locked in too. I think I felt a sense of like making sure I'm gonna be all right, safety and security. But then I also had this like ego come out too that he was locked in on me. And so when I got out, I looked back one more time and he said something at that point. And once he said something, like I walked out like a little further towards the middle, and he ultimately came down to like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm not afraid. He was telling me that like out of his mouth. He's like, I'm not afraid. I'll take my shirt off right now. That's what he told me. And at first when he was, I thought he was reaching for a gun or something. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
this is kind of weird. And what I stayed locked on his eyes like pretty deep because I was figuring out what the fuck was going on in my head because I was processing a lot of outcomes.
yeah,
And like one of them was like, all right, I haven't been in a fight in a long time. This would be a good time because I'm gonna clear this dude up really quick.
yeah,
And so like there's this part going through that like I'll be okay, but then there was this other part of like, dude, like my USA wrestling cards on the line, my like probably ability to coach, my ability to do what I do in my career, like
yeah,
any kind of charges and stuff like that could impact that kind of stuff. And the once he said, I'm not tripping on you, I was like, okay, then what's going on? I was like, are you having a good day? And he said, yeah. And I said, so why fuck it up?
yeah,
He said, all right. And so I turned around and walked away after that. And I just felt so mature, bro. And I felt like a different level of me unlocked. Like it felt more powerful to find a way out of that than it did to go the other route.
yeah,
But was a trip was there was like this instinct part of me that felt like I needed to do the job too. Like I was challenged and I had to go handle it. Like which my dad would have done. I watched him like just fight people in public. Like when the challenge came, he handled it, which is felt safe. But then there's another part of it with like it didn't feel good either. And there's just like now what am I trying to pass on to my kids is like how to be like how much more did I protect with I don't have boys at home. I have girls at home that like I have to teach them a different path. When I raise my voice, they freak out.
yeah,
So like now I'm in the practice of making new choices because it felt like an old belief system came up and I got to go do what he did. But I didn't. I found a way to change it and not in a humility type of way, but like it just worked out.
No, and there's truth in that. I mean, we don't have to fight every fire with
Right.
fire. We don't have to fight every piece of violence with violence. I think that in changing the world, it takes us.
Right.
So if every street, everybody that looked at you wrong, you fought. I mean, would that really make you
No.
a man?
No.
And like you said, it's hard to fight that, because sometimes you do want to get the job done and you
Right.
do want to just put hands on hands. And the reality is that the best thing to do? Is that the safest thing to
Mm.
do? Even in the art of war, like the best fought wars are wars that are won without even fighting.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's
100%.
like even aside from the morality sense, like I think that you might have even handled that situation the best for your army. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because yeah, mindless violence it never ends well. You know what
Right.
I mean? And it really comes down to you're aware of the way that you do things, the way you speak, and the way that you think have power. If the words that you say have power, we don't just need to have power in our hands. There's true power in your words and your thoughts, and if you bank on those and you're constantly working to bank on those are going to lead you to the promised land.
Right. Yeah, that's heavy. What you talked about too of man, I got 1 year to live, or I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
how can I get more feathers on my back? Right now to make sure that I can fly through those gates. I can get it done.
No, yeah, and I
Like,
honestly I think, mark my words, people have said the kingdom has come,
right.
and I'm just saying that, like, what if we're already living in heaven and we're
Right.
just shitting on it?
Right.
Like, I'm so grateful for today, and I think that I was in the mindset at the time of, like, I only got so much time, so I've got to, like, make use of it, and I think it was good practice because that is what I'm supposed to be doing. But then, after, that year, I learned to have perspective on it of, like, kind of like live with the kind of childlike wonder, because, um, the reality is we don't know when any of us are going to go, and we have today,
Right.
and I'm very grateful for that. And, and the reality is that this is an amazing place to be,
Right.
and we don't need to, you know, live such a gruesome and horrible life in order to get into this place when it's like we should be living a good life.
Right now.
Yeah, we should live a good life now,
Right now.
and let the rest come. I don't think that we were meant to um, kill
Suffer.
ourselves
Yeah.
with so much suffer with so much expectation and desire.
Mm-hmm.
If you desire and have so much desire to get to this next place and you don't worry about what's going on right now, you'll never get there. Um,
It's 1 foot at a time,
yeah, it is.
bro. I'm going off on a tangent, but
Tangents are good.
what if what I was talking about with making it to my mom's ovary?
Yeah, it's a win.
What if in that mindset, like, who knows what that world was like? And then I made something else where, like, he pulled me out of water and I realized that there was a whole nother world, like the fish. But, like, what if when that moment dropped, like, this was the fucking fight that I was trying to get to and I'm in it now? Like, this is heaven.
Yeah.
Like, in that sense of, like, so now I got to live this out. I get to live this out. It's an opportunity. This is the moment that whole fight to get there, I'm living it right now. My eyes are open.
Yeah, I think it's tough because it is like the butterfly, like the caterpillar to a butterfly. Like I think that we were born, well, between me and you, I think we were born, and God gave us a soul, and if we keep living in the sense of that we just think that we're this flesh, that's how we're gonna live.
Right.
But if you realize and recognize that God gave you a soul and that spirit, that's the dog you feed,
Right.
and it is that your flesh fighting spirit,
Right.
spirit fighting the flesh, and you are the spirit, and you're I don't know if I'd call it possessing, but you're in a body, and they say your spirit goes somewhere after death. But
Right.
what is that after, like, so if you can recognize that there is an actual the separation between your flesh and your spirit, that like your flesh will wither and die away and your spirit will live, and it is something that will transcend. You recognize that that's what you want to grow. Like if you'd imagine, like, having a pot, right?
Right.
And that's like your body, but the plant that grows out of the pot is your spirit, and you should be working to grow that every day. And we work that in fighting our nervous system and all these things that we talked about in changing the way that our mind
Right.
thinks, changing the way that our body works, it's all inevitably leading to making sure that who we are as a person, which is our soul, that like who I'm speaking to, yeah, because my mouth is moving
Right.
and my body's speaking, but it's it's my
Right.
psyche that is actually
Right. That's
formulating the
what's
words,
connecting.
and
Yeah.
that's what's here, and that's who speaks. And if you can get that to grow, and if you can make every effort so that you can grow your spirit, I think that the spirit is what's going to bring health and happiness in the life. I don't think that following your bodily desires and following just what your body tells you to do leads to good. I think that your spirit's always telling you to do the harder thing, and
Right.
it's kind of like that Jiminy Cricket, that conscience that's kind of in the back of your ear saying, "Hey, you know what's right, right?"
Right.
Like in those hard moments and making the decisions, if we can constantly make the right one, we're constantly like feeding that good wolf, and it's in every decision, and sometimes we get off in it and feeding that bad wolf, and I talked to God about that. I was like, hey, you've shown me this heaven on earth where if I can do the right thing and make the right decision, then I feel better about myself and I'm growing that spirit. And this is the constant effort. I was like, what happens when I do wrong and I'm in this dark place? And he told me to just make the next decision you have, make the right one,
Mm.
because it's just like boom, you get right back to that habit of feeding that good wolf, and you get right back into that mindset of like feeding the consciousness, and um, I think that every person's meant to develop and bloom and let their spirit, come out through their body. Um, I think that's who we are, like who speaks, because if you see someone with like a brain injury, sometimes a doctor will say, look, their brain works, their body works, everything's working, and they wake up, but something's not there, right? Like something, like there's something not there, right? And like they don't wake up in a coma. It's like everything works, but like something's not sparking them into it.
Right.
And I'm saying that that's the spirit, that's the soul that you are, and I'm grateful for mine. I'm grateful for who I am and who God has made me. And if we all are all coming from that. If I am my spirit, then I am. That's what. When people say you're made in the image of God,
Mm.
it's not. God doesn't look. They made God came down and or whatever. But in the image of God, in my opinion, it's the fact that God made your soul and your spirit, and that's the image that we all strive to
Right.
be and to be like working towards.
Right. Man, I appreciate that, man, because we got connected for a reason,
Yeah,
and we kind of today was a day like we got to actually peel it apart and let our spirits connect
yeah,
and see what it's about, right? Because then you get a deeper understanding of how mine works and where it's at currently, and same goes to me. I get to see you, and like I knew it was there, and just challenged it. So thank you for taking on the challenge of like just kind of showing up to this
yeah,
and like not knowing what this match was going to be like. You know what I mean? And you just you came, you showed up, and you poured everything that you've been through, how you got to where you're at now, and the stuff. And I think what's the most important, the stuff that the tools that you've learned and developed over the time to use now, and then pour it back into the community, which is the biggest gift and biggest honor that people could have, and I think kids can have is somebody who's been through the trials and been through the tough and can now come back and teach a person how to reshape it, because a lot of people can tell a story of how they've done this and where they're at now, but what's really important is what we've nailed here is the thoughts and the stuff that's coming out of our brain and how we can align them a lot more to serving us in a positive way, so that way we can create the spirit to be as pure as it can be, and just hope to keep passing that down, because what you're doing right now, sharing enough of that with me, I get to go pour back into my community and keep sharing it downward, because if once my body's gone, they're not going to care what I look like
no,
and how I said it. They're just going to remember the way that I made them feel and how my spirit connected to them,
yeah,
and they're going to be like, all right, that dude was a good dude. You know what I mean? He fought the good fight, and I want to be more like that, so I'm going to go fight the good fight. And maybe I said something that put them in the right direction. And I feel like we're just all guides here, and everybody's on a journey, and we're just guiding each other down the road.
yeah. And
It's
I'm grateful for you. I mean, we're all guiding each other, and I got to say that you know none of this would have happened without you, and so I got to thank you again. Um, but yeah, it's really comes down to that guiding light, and following it, and helping other people follow it. It does lead to good things. It really does.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Hernandez. If you didn't know him before, this is him. What you pull out from here is the raw, honest, where he's at in life, and I promised you that I would only speak when my words bring value. And sometimes it's not me bringing the value or needing to be the leader or some. It's me being the bridge. And today, I was a bridge to Joseph's life to share with you guys. So I hope that you've gained as much as I have today. But I know that I feel enlightened. My spirit feels good. It feels cleaner even from this conversation. And I appreciate you having out here, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Let's go.